Now, Sony's been working hard on its video chops over the past couple of years, with full-frame cameras like the A series being a firm favourite among YouTubers and video creators, and then the smaller A6000 series seeking to offer similar power and capabilities in a much more compact form. With features like really fast autofocus and real-time face and eye tracking, you might think that's where it ends, but you'd be wrong. There's one specific breed of video makers that Sony wants to go after next, and that's vloggers. That means making a powerful, very compact and functional camera that offers all the tools you need, whether you're just starting at vlogging or a seasoned pro who needs some extra tools. I'm Cam Bunton from Pocket-lint, and this is our review of the ZV-1. So the focus on vloggers starts in the design. It's a neat, compact, textured plastic covered compact camera. Even with the dedicated dead cat on top, it takes up very little space in the palm. Sony also added a small rubberized grip on the front, which is great for keeping hold of, but more importantly gives you that space for your thumb on the front when you're filming yourself. And here's something you don't get on a lot of other Sony cameras: a proper flip-out touchscreen that flips out to the side, and it can rotate 180 degrees on its hinge. The top is almost completely flush and features a 3-capsule mic under a grill, plus a big dedicated movie button and a background defocus button. Now, this background defocus button essentially switches between a wider and narrower aperture. In defocus mode, it's f-stop 1.8. It adds a bokeh effect to your background and adjusts the exposure and shutter speed to keep the image balance looking the same. It definitely has an effect, and while it doesn't look as high quality as something you might get from a proper expensive camera and lens, it's soft and helps separate you from your background. If you're recording yourself or want to show a landmark or something important behind you, obviously you can switch it off and then there's less of that blur. On the right edge, you get a 3.5mm jack for an external mic, plus a micro USB port for charging and data, and a tiny micro HDMI for external monitors and TVs. The rest of the controls are at the back and include a couple of customizable function buttons, the gallery and menu buttons, and the usual directional scroll wheel. So video specs, and Sony's little vlogging camera can record up to 4K resolution, in our region up to 25 frames per second, or 1080p at up to 50 frames per second. But what's more impressive is the processing power. It uses a similar image signal processor to some of the more expensive higher end cameras like the Alpha 9. And it's tuned specifically to base a frame's exposure on your face, if you're recording yourself. That means you can walk through varying light conditions while filming and it'll make sure your face is easily visible, even with heavy backlighting or an extreme shadow over your face. In our testing, it worked pretty well. It takes a second or two to adjust, but it gets there smoothly without an abrupt adjustment. And then there's that 3-capsule mic on the top. It's designed to record clear audio, or at least better audio than what you would expect to get from a built-in camera microphone. So as you can see, it's pretty windy today. And I've got the dead cat on just to see exactly how effective that is. It's a tiny little fluffy thing. On particularly windy days, you can switch on the wind reduction filter as well, but then that cuts a lot of the ambient noise out. And then in our testing again, it seemed to make your voice a little bit flatter and not as loud. So the wind has just picked up again. So it'll be interesting to see what this sounds like once I get it into the edit. But that's pretty blustery. Now, if you like to shoot videos of yourself along with product, there's a product showcase mode that you can activate. So the idea is that if I hold a product up close to the camera like this, it should focus on that product, and then when I remove it, it quickly switches back to me. It's pretty cool. So as you can see, it works really well. It's quick, it does its job, and it immediately switches between the product and you once it detects that the product isn't in the frame anymore. Now, Sony's long been known for fast and reliable autofocus and real-time tracking. It has a 20 megapixel 1-inch CMOS sensor and focuses really quickly when you tap on that object. However, if you want a more cinematic slow pull focus effect, you can adjust the speed in the settings and get a more dramatic, slower focus. And that can be really useful when you're shooting product videos. And speaking of slow and dramatic, there's also high frame rate recording mode you can activate and then get yourself some lovely slow motion footage. And as for the real-time tracking, it works by default with human faces and eyes, but can be switched to pet mode, so you can activate that and film your pet or an animal, and it'll automatically recognize an animal's eye within that shot and then lock onto it quickly. And the camera is equipped with optical and electronic image stabilization, which combine to create Sony's newest version of steady shot. So when you're shooting handheld, there's not as much shake, it's nice and smooth. Again, something that's really useful for a vlog if you're filming yourself handheld while walking around. And for those who like color grading, you can enable one of many picture profiles, and that includes various versions of S-Log and S-Gamut as well as HDR modes. Now the lens offers a 24mm to 70mm equivalent range, which means it's not super wide and offers only up to about 2.7 times optical zoom. But then when you're shooting yourself from about arm's length, that's more than enough. Overall, there's lots to like here. Sure, we'd like to see a Type-C port in the camera, or a wider lens, or even an extra SD card slot, but the feature list here is pretty good, and it's a very versatile little compact camera. Audio is clear, images look great, and there's plenty of pro-level options here to make it a useful compact secondary camera, and it's sure as heck better than using the front-facing camera on your smartphone. Let me know what you think of this camera in the comments section down below. If you liked this video, hit the thumbs up and subscribe to see more. I've been Cam, I'm at Cam Bunton on Twitter, and I'll see you again soon.